What if Deku, Bakugo, and Todoroki became Heralds of Galactus? Well, you just made these characters so strong, they are the closest thing to being gods without actually being gods. And that's because the power cosmic itself is so overpowered to have. Allow me to name some of the powers that a Herald of Galactus can get. And keep in mind, you are giving these three characters access to almost all of these abilities. Size alteration, molecule deconstruction/reconstruction, basically just molecule manipulation. They could transmute matter into anything of their choosing. They can teleport objects up to the size of entire galaxies through space and time wherever they want them. They could generate powerful enough force fields to withstand the force of stars. They can create interdimensional portals to travel through time and space wherever they want. Telepathy, telekinesis, cosmic awareness on a universal scale. And this next power is only capable of being used by some of the strongest Heralds of Galactus. And by that, I mean they possess much more of Galactus's cosmic power than the average Herald. And that power is they can recreate life. Body, soul, everything. They could even recreate entire planets down to the smallest detail. So much so that if you looked at the planet, you wouldn't even be able to notice it was gone to begin with. And if you get more cosmic power than even that, you could straight up create new life. Meaning, if you get enough cosmic power, you can straight up become a full-fledged god. Not only that, but it would take Bakugo, Todoroki, and Deku's quirks and amplify them to the same godly proportions they are. Like Todoroki, for example. He'd be able to shoot fire as hot and as intense as stars and launch planet-sized chunks of ice. Bakugo's explosions would be able to easily vaporize planets, if not entire solar systems. And Deku's quirks would be terrifying if they were amplified to the same strength as Herald's. Smokescreen could cloud entire planets. His punches, kicks, and even his flicks could cause devastating damage to multiple planets, simply by fighting near them or even on them. He could use Black Whip to drag entire celestial bodies around. Fajin will just make him stronger than he'd already be. And Danger Sense would be kinda useless because he's already got cosmic awareness. But if it still did work, then his Danger Sense would be just as potent as Cosmic Spider-Man's Spider Sense. Because if you don't know, Cosmic Spider-Man is one of the strongest versions of Spider-Man. And personality-wise, Bakugo would be the most destructive Herald. Todoroki would be a pretty neutral Herald. And Deku, I think he would be pretty similar to Thor when he was a Herald and tried to save people before Galactus showed up. Okay, first, making a Tournament of Power team for DC characters was so damn annoying. Because not only did you say exclude Superman, but I specifically excluded Kryptonians in general so I didn't bend any of your rules. But I also had to abide by the Tournament of Power rules. No outside weapons or tools. I know Universe 6 used the Patara and Master Roshi used the bottles, but screw that, that makes things more complicated. Also another rule, no killing. And flying is not allowed unless you have a power that allows you to fly. Now that the rules are out of the way, let's get to the list of characters. First character I'll have is Barry Allen Flash. Now before I continue, I know a lot of the characters I have on my list can single-handedly win the tournament, but just for the sake of the video, let's have fun about this. Next, Cyborg. Specifically because one of the universes that participated was entirely made of robots. Cyborg can hack machines, so he could just hack them and make the whole team walk out of the arena. One other rule I forgot to mention is no gods can participate in this tournament, which is why you didn't see Kais or Destroyers participating. So I'm not going to involve any cosmic beings or people like the One Above All on this list. That would straight up be cheating. Now back to the list. I would have Batman, but no gadgets. Instead, before the tournament, he takes that super pill that gives him Superman's level of strength. You have that level of strength combined with the incredible skill of Batman, and you've got a very formidable foe. Next, Martian Manhunter. Similar strength to Superman, psychic powers, and shapeshift which could catch other teams off guard, thinking that they're talking to an ally when they're actually talking to an enemy. Next, I'm choosing Raven because her magic is unbelievably powerful. And the only character that could probably even tell that it's magic would be Master Roshi, but he's not going to be able to stop it. I also choose Dr. Fate for the same reasons. Number 7 on my list is Firestorm. Not only would his pyrokinesis be really annoying to deal with, But since he can manipulate matter on an atomic level, he'd be able to do things that no other fighter in the tournament could. Next, Starfire. She has incredible physical strength, flight, energy projection, so we'd actually be able to get some beam struggles off between Starfire and other Dragon Ball characters, which would definitely be cool to see. And then we'd have a standoff between Android 18 and Starfire. And for the final two members of the team, I'm going with a good guy, bad guy dynamic like Goku and Frieza have, with Green Lantern Hal Jordan and Yellow Lantern Sinestro. Because obviously, if your universe is on the line, sometimes you're going to have a truce once in a while. And about the Lantern Ring situation, isn't that outside help? No, it is not, because one of the other Tournament of Power participants had a suit that gave him his powers. So the Lantern Rings would fall under the same category. I'll probably make a Marvel team later today or tomorrow. What would Marvel's team be for the Tournament of Power? Again, I'm going to go over the rules of the Tournament of Power so you know why I picked the characters I chose. Firstly, no outside weaponry or tools unless they are directly related to your power. Next rule, no killing. And final ability, flight is not allowed unless your power actually allows you to fly. Now that that's out of the way, let's get to the list. Firstly, you can't make a Marvel team without putting Hulk on there. Hulk would be fighting and growing in power similar to if Broly were in the Tournament of Power. Speaking of which, that's a good idea for another video I could do. But at this point, I'm rambling. Let's move on. Next, Doctor Strange. His magic would be incredibly difficult to deal with, if not impossible for the members of the tournament to even be able to counter. Next, Magneto. Mostly because one of the universes that are participating is all robots. Magneto could just lift them in the air and throw them off the ring. Simple as that. Fourth person on the team, Spider-Man. Now that might seem like a weird choice, but Spider-Man has shown that he could even strike hard enough to hurt Hulk. And when you combine that with all his other abilities, and the fact that Spider Sense is basically Ultra Instinct before Ultra Instinct was a thing, he'd be a genuine annoyance in the tournament. Number 5, Iron Fist. No particular reason, I just like Iron Fist. Plus he's super strong and a martial artist, so why not put him in a tournament with a bunch of other martial artists? Number 6, I've got Rogue. If anyone tries to hit her, their energy would be drained to the point where they'd pass out. Because obviously if they died, she'd be disqualified. But by stealing their energy, it would make her stronger and she could copy their unique abilities. That includes even abilities that are particular to a specific race. That would include Golden Frieza, Toppo's God Power, or even the Super Saiyan forms in Ultra Instinct. Now, number 7 is Iceman. I know, might seem like a weird choice, but he has literally produced so much ice one time that he literally froze over hell. I do not need to explain further why he's a part of this team. Next, Scarlet Witch. Her reality warping magic would make her an incredible asset for their team. But despite how powerful she is, it would definitely still be possible for members of the tournament to take her out. Because obviously, due to the rules of the tournament, she cannot go all out and just say, no more warriors in this ring and just make everyone disappear or straight up die. And finally, just like with the DC team, I have 2 characters that have a villain-hero dynamic like Goku and Frieza. And those 2 people would be Franklin Richards and Dr. Doom. Both are incredibly smart, but also really powerful. Especially Dr. Doom in the power department. With Doom's mystical powers and Franklin's stretchy body, they'd be dangerous. No, I'd rather live. Deku with Taskmaster's abilities is utterly terrifying. For those that don't know, Taskmaster has the ability to perfectly copy people's fighting styles, as well as being able to use tools and weapons the same level of skill as the person he's copying. For example, he was able to use a shield just as well as Captain America. And he doesn't simply just copy one fighting style exactly. He copies multiple people's fighting styles and melds the best parts of each one to make an unstoppable fighting style of his own. The only exception for that is fighting styles that would actively put him in harm's way. For example, Moon Knight. Moon Knight's fighting style is he just doesn't fucking dodge. So he constantly gets hit by things and just brushes it off and keeps going. So copying a fighting style like that would likely kill Taskmaster. Now, think about what I just mentioned about Taskmaster and apply it to everything Deku knows about pro heroes, other students, and even villains. He'd be as good at close combat as Aizawa and Ojiro combined. He'd be just as skilled, if not far greater, than Stain with bladed weapons. And since he literally has notebooks full of these characters' information already, including other students, pro heroes, and likely even books entirely based around villains he's fought, he'd be able to create a fighting style so damn powerful that he'd be unpredictable. And since he literally knows all their fighting styles, he'd be able to perfectly counter anyone he went against, and then retaliate in a way that the opponent could never counter. On top of all that, you've got the incredible physical strength of One For All, as well as all the other quirks that One For All possesses within it. Speaking of those quirks, since the vestiges of One For All actively speak with him and have a physical body within his mind, he could simply have them show him how they use their quirk through memories they'd likely all share between each other, likely in visions he gets at night in dreams, and be able to use all of those quirks at the same level of skill or possibly even at a greater level of skill than all their original users. Meaning Deku would not only be almost unrivaled in the power department, but also be completely unrivaled when it comes to skill. Now, side tangent about the Black Widow movie and how they utilize Taskmaster, I was honestly extremely disappointed. Now, I'm not going to spoil the movie, don't worry. I'm just going to warn you, if you're going to watch the movie because of Taskmaster, please lower your expectations. As a massive fan of Taskmaster, I was quite disappointed in how poorly this character was executed. Now, this would be an incredible battle. Taskmaster versus Batman. Now, I can actually see this fight going two separate ways. First, I'll go over the way in which Taskmaster wins. Both are incredibly close to each other in skill. Batman has been stated to know every form of martial arts on Earth. Meanwhile, Taskmaster's fighting style is a mix of a lot of the popular characters in Marvel. And they're close enough in skill that the fight would be drawn out for an extremely long amount of time. And the fact that Taskmaster is actively seeing Bruce Wayne's combat style, with the fight dragging on for such a long amount of time, he'd eventually be able to adapt to it and counter anything Bruce throws at him, therefore allowing him to get a victory. And with this victory and all this knowledge of Batman's combat style, Taskmaster would become leagues more difficult to defeat. Now for the instance in which Batman wins. And it literally only takes Batman to know his name and know what Taskmaster's ability is. And no, I'm not meaning, oh, Batman beats anyone with prep time. He wouldn't need prep time. All he'd need to do is go all out from the start. Because as we've seen when Taskmaster fights Captain America, despite the fact that Taskmaster at this point has Captain America's fighting style down to a T, he gets his ass beat by Captain America almost every time they fight. And it has nothing to do with skill. It's because Captain America is leagues faster and leagues stronger than Taskmaster. Meanwhile, Taskmaster is at best superhuman. And I can say this quite confidently. Batman is far stronger than Taskmaster. So if Batman is relentless in the battle from the start and goes all out, Taskmaster would have no way of countering him. And I can honestly see either of these occurrences happening. Because if we put these characters in a neutral universe, where neither character has home field advantage, you have two options. Either you let each character know about each other before the fight, so they know what to expect, or you leave both characters clueless of what the other can do. And whichever you decide to pick, will decide on who wins. If you leave both characters in the dark, Taskmaster wins. But if Bruce figures out what Taskmaster's ability is, Bruce bullies Taskmaster. That is a very dangerous combination. If you gave Batman access to the master controls of the Omnitrix, which takes away the worries of a time limit for alien transformations, as well as making it to where you don't even have to physically make contact with the Omnitrix, you can simply think of what alien you want to turn into, and it'll turn you into it. Plus, since Batman is most well known for being able to come up with contingencies for almost anything, if you gave him access to the versatility of the Omnitrix, with all 1 million plus DNA samples of those 1 million plus aliens, there are so many possibilities of stuff he'd be able to come up with. Not only that, but he could scan aliens that are exclusive to the DC universe, like Martians and Kryptonians. Not only that, but if Batman turned into Alien X, with how intelligent Bruce is, I don't see him having much trouble persuading the other two minds within Alien X. Meaning he could quite easily get full mastery of Alien X. Deku would destroy Batman's rogue gallery. And I'm tired of people downplaying Deku thinking he stands no chance. Especially if we're using manga Deku, he annihilates them. I could literally count on one hand the amount of villains that would even give Deku a remote challenge. And even calling them a challenge is a massive stretch. Deku can easily move at massively supersonic speeds, arguably hypersonic speeds. And if you want to mention the radio waves dodging feat, you can get Deku to light speed, but honestly, I don't think he's light speed. But even then, being supersonic or low hypersonic is still way faster than most of Batman's villains. Physically, Deku has enough power now that if he threw a full power punch, he could level a small city. Or in the case of Gotham, level a good portion of it. And that's with just a singular punch. The only people that will be anywhere near the level of strength of current Deku would be people like Bane, Killer Croc, and Deathstroke. And even then, the three of them combined don't even compare to what Deku's shown. Deathstroke's skill is incredibly dangerous. He would be one of the biggest threats to deal with, him and Scarecrow. But with Danger Sense as one of Deku's quirks, their threat level gets minimized to nothing more than a nuisance. Bane and Killer Croc, they are incredibly physically strong, but they are nowhere near strong enough or durable enough to withstand a powerful punch from Deku. And if you think Scarecrow can actually use the Fear Toxin on Deku, again, Danger Sense would warn him about it. Danger Sense was able to warn Deku about a villain attacking two civilians on the other side of the city. Danger Sense would easily tell Deku, that container is full of a gas that is extremely dangerous. Don't let him use it. And Deku could either use Black Whip to wrap up Scarecrow and slam him against the wall or the ground, or just punch him and send him across the room, which would either knock him out or damn near kill him. Joker wouldn't do shit against Deku. If Joker was torturing Deku, then yeah, Joker destroys him. But in an actual fight, Joker's basically just a regular person. Same thing goes for 99% of Batman's villains, they're just a bunch of psychos. Grundy would also be pretty difficult to deal with, but Deku would still be strong enough to take him out in a couple punches. Poison Ivy's abilities would be pretty irritating to deal with, but Deku has plenty of quirks to deal with her. Plus with Float, he wouldn't be on the ground for the plants to even reach him. And if they did come towards him, he could just float up high enough to where she couldn't make the plants get to. Deku is physically strong and fast enough he could speed blitz 99% of the people in Batman's Rogues Gallery. And that's simply using the physical attributes of the stockpiling quirk. That's not utilizing Black Whip, which each tendril can lift and throw cars, and he can make dozens of those. Smokescreen can blind his enemies. Danger Sense is basically the Spider Sense. Float will keep him out of range of enemies. And Fajin's overkill.